December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. But this story doesn't begin there. For over 2 centuries, Japan restricted nearly all foreign contact. From the 1630s to the 1850s, it tightly controlled trade, banned most Europeans, and forbade Japanese subjects from leaving the country. And yet, in less than a century after reopening, that same nation became one of the world's most advanced economies and a technological powerhouse. How does a feudal archipelago transform into a modern superpower? How does a society of samurai evolve into the land of bullet trains and robotics? This is the story of Japan. Ancient foundations. The Japanese archipelago has been inhabited for at least 30,000 to 40,000 years. Early migrants from mainland Asia developed distinctive Jomon cultures, followed later by Yayoi communities that introduced wet rice agriculture, metalworking, and more centralized social organization. By the 3rd to 5th centuries AD, political power consolidated in the Yamato region. The Yamato court claimed descent from the sun goddess Amaterasu, establishing a divine imperial lineage that would endure for millennia. Buddhism was introduced from the Korean peninsula in the 6th century, traditionally dated to 552, though some sources suggest 538. Along with religion came Chinese writing, architecture, philosophy, and political ideas. In 645, the Taika reforms attempted to reshape Japan along Chinese imperial lines, centralizing authority under the emperor and creating a bureaucratic state. In 794, Emperor Komu moved the capital to Heian-kyo, modern Kyoto, beginning the Heian period. Over nearly 4 centuries, court culture flourished. Poetry, literature, and refined aesthetics defined elite life. But as the imperial court focused increasingly on ceremony and aristocratic politics, provincial governance weakened. Regional landholders began raising private warrior bands. These mounted fighters would later be known as samurai. While later generations developed the formal ideology of Bushido, early samurai followed practical warrior codes centered on loyalty and martial skill. The rise of the shogun. By the 12th century, 2 great warrior clans, the Taira and Minamoto, competed for dominance. Their rivalry culminated in the Genpei War from 1180 to 1185. Minamoto, no Yoritomo, emerged victorious. In 1192, he received the title of shogun and established a military government in Kamakura. From this point forward, Japan's political authority was divided. The emperor remained in Kyoto as a sacred and ceremonial figure, while real military power rested with the shogunate. The Mongol invasions. In 1268, Kublai Khan, ruler of the Yuan dynasty and grandson of Genghis Khan, sent envoys demanding Japan submit as a tributary state. The Kamakura shogunate refused. In 1274, a Mongol-led force, likely between 20,000 and 40,000 troops, launched an invasion of Kyushu. The invaders used coordinated infantry tactics, mounted archers and explosive projectiles unfamiliar to Japanese forces. After fierce fighting, a storm forced the fleet's withdrawal. Kublai Khan tried again in 1281 with a far larger force, possibly over 100,000 troops, though traditional figures may be exaggerated. Japanese defenders had built coastal fortifications and resisted for weeks. Then a powerful typhoon struck, devastating much of the invading fleet. These storms were later remembered as kamikaze, divine winds, but Japan's survival was due not only to weather, but also to organized defense and preparation. Despite victory, the enormous defensive costs strained the Kamakura government. Many samurai were left unrewarded, weakening loyalty to the regime. Civil War and the Age of Warlords. In 1333, Emperor Go-Daigo overthrew the Kamakura shogunate in an attempt to restore direct imperial rule. His restoration was brief. In 1338, Ashikaga Takauji established a new shogunate. The Ashikaga government never fully controlled the provinces. Powerful regional daimyo governed with increasing autonomy. In 1467, the Onin War erupted over a succession dispute. Kyoto was devastated in a decade of warfare. When the conflict ended, central authority had collapsed. Japan entered the Sengoku Jidai, the age of warring states. For over a century, rival daimyo fought for territory and survival. Social mobility increased. The phrase Gyekokujo, the low overcomes the high, captured the era's instability. Specialist agents skilled in espionage and irregular warfare, later known as ninja, operated particularly in regions like Iga and Koga. Military tactics evolved rapidly. and castle design became increasingly sophisticated. Western contact and unification. In 1543, Portuguese traders landed on Tanegashima Island, introducing matchlock firearms. Japanese smiths quickly replicated the weapons, and firearms spread rapidly through the warring domains. Exact numbers are debated, but by the late 16th century, Japan likely possessed more firearms than any European country. Christian missionaries followed. Some daimyo converted, partly to secure trade advantages. Oda Nobunaga embraced firearms and foreign trade. Through innovation and ruthless strategy, he unified much of central Japan before his assassination in 1582. Toyotomi Hideyoshi completed the unification by 1590. After Hideyoshi's death in 1598, Tokugawa Ieyasu defeated rivals at the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. In 1603, he was appointed shogun, establishing the Tokugawa shogunate in Edo. To maintain stability, Tokugawa instituted Sankin Kotai, requiring daimyo to alternate residence between their domains and Edo, limiting rebellion. Restricted foreign policy. Concerned about Christianity and European colonial ambitions, the Tokugawa government gradually restricted foreign influence through edicts issued between 1633 and 1639. After the suppression of the Shimabara Rebellion in 1637 to 1638, an uprising involving many Christians, the government expelled Portuguese traders. From 1639 onward, Japan maintained a tightly controlled foreign policy. Trade continued in limited form with the Dutch and Chinese at Nagasaki, and diplomatic relations persisted with Korea and the Ryukyu Kingdom. For roughly 214 years, Japan remained largely closed to most Western powers. On July 8, 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry arrived with American warships demanding trade relations. In 1854, the Treaty of Kanagawa opened select ports. Unequal treaties and internal unrest weakened the shogunate. In the Boshin War of 1868 to 1869, imperial forces defeated Tokugawa loyalists. Emperor Meiji was restored to political authority. Modernization. The Meiji government dismantled the feudal system. Domains were abolished in 1871. Samurai privileges were gradually eliminated, culminating in the 1876 sword ban. Universal conscription created a modern army. Railways, telegraphs, industry, and compulsory education were introduced. Western advisors were hired to accelerate reform. In 1877, the Satsuma Rebellion, the last major samurai uprising, was crushed by the new national army. Within decades, Japan had transformed into an industrializing state. Imperial expansion. In 1894 to 1895, Japan defeated Qing China in the First Sino-Japanese War, gaining Taiwan under the Treaty of Shimonoseki in 1902. Japan formed an alliance with Britain. In 1904-1905, Japan defeated Russia in the Russo-Japanese War, marking the first time in the modern era that an Asian power defeated a major European empire. The path to World War. Nationalism and military influence grew in the early 20th century. In 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria. In 1937, full-scale war with China erupted. Facing American economic sanctions, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. After early victories, Japan was gradually pushed back. By 1945, strategic bombing had devastated major cities. Atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima on August 6 and Nagasaki on August 9. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender. Rebirth. Under Allied occupation led by General Douglas MacArthur, Japan adopted a new constitution in 1947. Article 9 renounced war. The emperor renounced his claim to divinity but remained a symbolic figure. Japan focused on economic reconstruction. By the mid-1950s, industrial production surpassed pre-war levels. In 1968, Japan became the world's second-largest capitalist economy. The 1964 Tokyo Olympics and the launch of the Shinkansen bullet train symbolized a remarkable transformation. Today, Japan ranks among the world's most developed nations. Across centuries, it has endured civil war, invasion attempts, forced opening, imperial expansion, devastation. The era ended. The policy of isolation was dismantled. But Japan's ability to adapt while preserving continuity remains a defining strength. And that story continues on the islands where the sun rises each day. If you enjoyed this journey through history, make sure to subscribe for more in-depth history content.